Hey everyone, welcome back to another review. Of course, I'm your host, your gracious, magnificent, gorgeous host.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
I am your usual host who's here when we can be asked to record if we're unwell or not. And back with another review, of course. It is I, Mitchell, Purple Midnight, whatever you prefer. Back with my assistant, my co-host of the reviews,
I
Amelia.
thought he was gonna say gorgeous fiance then, but then he changed it, and I was just like
And back with the woman I
disappointed.
live with.
Really? You're digging yourself a grave.
Anyway, today we're looking at.
Excuse me, you've forgotten one other
Oh,
person.
excuse me, we do have a third co host today, if you want to call him that. Of course, Silver has joined us today. He's just had a little bit of the cake I made, so he's very happy and he's very tired. So, anyway, of course, if you can tell, we're doing White Chicks because apparently we're just going to do every one of the Wayans films.
I
But
know
today,
White Chicks is my favourite.
yeah, it is probably one of the better ones because it's not just a parody; it's just an actual like film as opposed to scary movie. And what was that one we were watching the other night? The Don't Drink the Juice in the Hood or whatever it is.
Oh, it wasn't that
It's that one
one.
we've watched like 50 minutes of and then have yet to go back to watch.
Oh, Don't Be a Menace or
Don't be a
something.
menace in the hood while sipping something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Don't Be a Menace. That's a bit more of a weird film than this, but this is still a weird film. Don't get me wrong. So, of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's another of the Wayans films, directed by Keenan, who directed Scary Movie 1 and 2 and didn't do the rest because that's why they're shit. It's written by Keenan, also Xavier Cook, Andy McElfresh, and Michael Anthony Snowden. And when I read up on the internet, because of course I do my research, had a bit of input from Marlon and Sean Wayans.
Mm.
Of course, the brothers, your main characters. So yeah, of course, if I mean everyone knows White Chicks. If you haven't even seen the film,
Oh my god, if you haven't even seen White Chicks, or you did not watch it when you was a teenager, when you were about to fall asleep, or you do not know the classic line of, "What a beautiful chocolate man," get the hell off Earth. Seriously.
or I mean, even if not, you've 100% seen Terry Crews in the car singing along to a
Making
Phantom
my way
Hour.
downtown,
Exactly.
walking fast, pacing fast, and I'm home back.
Exactly. You've seen it. Terry Crews has done it a lot on TV. It's like his thing.
I do not care what anyone says, whether this film is like, um, beginning with the R word or anything.
You
I
could
love
just call it racist. That's
I
not. That's not. That's
I
not a slur.
love this film, and it still brings me joy to this day. And I will defend it with my life because
It's
it's got some classic lines in there.
it is iconic. It is. It's as when I read up about it, it was very much not very well received. But of course, like most of their films, they've become like cult classics over the years.
Hmm.
So it's nice to see a film like this that was a bit panned has become iconic.
Well, there's an actual storyline to this one, isn't there?
Yeah, it's more of a there's a story to it rather than
As
it just being a parody film, as
I
I mentioned
don't feel
earlier.
like, yes, there's funny scenes in it and there's a bit of a piss take, but it's not like Scary Movie where they're
There's
going
a
off other
plot. There's
films.
a plot to go off of other than this film came out, so we're going to take the piss
So
out
you're
of it.
not going to keep hearing like, oh, it's a reference to The Shining or
Yeah, you're not
whatever.
going to
They're
hear
not
us
going to
being
do
like,
that.
oh, of course, this is a reference to Scream, this is a reference to The
I think
Exorcist.
there's a few in there, isn't there, when he does the scene where he's pretending to be someone else? Because you laughed at that.
I can't remember. It could be in the, I can't remember which scene she's on about, but it could be in my notes, it could not, but we'll soon see. So we'll get right into it. Now we've done our little behind the scenes bit. As I say, I want to credit as many people who are involved as I can, and I do apologise if I miss out on anyone. But that happens. That just happens
I
sometimes.
highly doubt anyone famous watching this.
No, but
Sorry.
like with a lot of things, there are a lot of people that go uncredited because they're not the main part of the film.
Yeah, sure.
Like famously, stunt like people barely get any recognition. It's difficult to find it when you're not going into such a deep, deep, deep dive of the film for that sort of information. Because I'm not going to be like, oh, he falls over and this is his stunt person, John McJonison.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure the stunt double names would be on the credits on the actual film themselves.
oh yeah, easily. But it's I don't know. I might in the future I might, but for now, while we're doing a few less like crazy. Well, we're doing fucking white chicks. But while we're not doing like Tom Cruise does all his own stunts. But while we're not doing like big blockbuster action movies, I mean, of course we had fucking Black Adam, but I wouldn't call that. Well, they just use CGI now, which is shit. Anyway, so of course, spoiler alert: if you haven't seen White Chicks, go and educate yourself before we get into this because it's such a dumb, silly film that you don't want to hear it from us.
We are going to spoil it, and when we get to the scenes where the classic line, probably going.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of like quotes and all sorts of nonsense shared throughout. So just go watch the film. It's on Netflix in a minute. Also, it's probably pretty easy to find on DVD.
I think, don't quote me on it, but I think last time I went on Disney Plus, it may have been on there as well.
I think it could be.
But
I'm not sure, but
100%.
Netflix, it's on there for the few people that still have that because I remember there being just loads of people that just
Yeah, thanks
unsubscribe.
Netflix for your password sharing. At least Disney have some class.
Yeah, at least Disney couldn't give a shit, and their price is better than fucking Netflix.
You know, grow some balls, Netflix. Just saying.
Yeah, fucking sort your shit out. Well, that's helpful.
Oh, and if you can renew the society, then renew that, and then maybe I will promote you in a positive light a bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you've done wrong, but that's for another film. That's for another episode where we're just gonna go off. Probably when we get to like a Netflix exclusive or something like that, which we might do in the future. We've already done that, a classic horror story, which is.
Don't plug it. Don't plug it, and don't even plug something.
I know. We can't plug anything anymore because fucking.
We're just gonna plug in there. So just go down the list. We're just gonna quickly plug in Triangle, Scary Movie. Don't bother about Halloween. Another Earth. Scary Movie 2. We're just gonna plug them. Go and watch them.
There's a playlist you can find on the channel now that I've deleted loads of like useless ones. You can find one out of all our reviews, but we've obviously, as mentioned, we've done Scary Movie 1 and 2. You can find those episodes in that playlist.
Yeah,
but there's a few other ones you can enjoy. All of them are silly. We haven't done any like straight up dramas yet.
But do not watch. Leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, let Santa slay. I mean, it's a good episode, but just leave it at the bottom of the list.
We say that and give it like a couple of years' time where this becomes popular, or if it ever does, people will be like, let's go and plug Santa's sleigh.
Yeah, there's going to be a remake in like a couple of years' time, and people are going to be like, oh, let's go listen to how the first one did, and all of a sudden that'll be first. Anyway, let's get on with the actual review now that it's been like about 20 minutes of us just talking about nonsense. So, of course, the movie begins with a little like convenience store being run by Marcus, played by Marlon Wayans, and Sean Wayans. Real quick, I'm sorry if I get the names mixed up. It's very difficult when they're in the outfits to tell who's who. I think Sean is shorter than Marlon, and I think the outfits are sort of colour-coded, but I may have made a few mistakes along the way because it does get messy during some of the scenes to figure out who's who. So just bear that in mind as we get into this. So basically they're undercover in disguise as some very stereotypical gentlemen. They don't specify countries and nationalities, so we'll keep that. We won't try and guess. They're basically in disguise in order to bust some drug dealers who are disguised as ice cream delivery men. Basically, they get the wrong guys. They have a fight against the. I mean, these guys did not make it good for themselves when it comes to not acting suspicious.
Mm.
This big burly Russian guy. I know that's the point, but like, yeah, he could have gone about that better, guys. Like, you're now gonna get the shit kicked out of you. But also, I think they try and do a runner, didn't they? When they're like FBI.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't help. But of course, it's revealed that these guys are the real ice cream sellers and that they bought actual ice cream. Uh, very quickly, the real drug dealers arrive and a shootout happens, resulting in the two losing them. Because they go outside, they're both in their own trucks, and they go separate ways, like the real ice cream guys and the fake ones. So they lose them, of course, because you got to have that early movie drama to set up the plot. The chief. I don't know if he ever really got his name. So throughout the review, he's just going to be called the chief, played by Frankie Faison, something like that. He arrives and chews them out. Just his big scary man, big scary boss chief. Be like, Barbara, you did bad, lol. Um. They are then teased by two more agents who I will refer to as their first names. Jake and Vincent. Jake is played by Lachlan Muro. He was in Scary Movie 1. He's probably in more stuff, but you can go catch him in that episode. He is a graduate of the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can't remember his name in Scary Movie 1, but he's in that. And Eddie Velez. I don't know what Eddie Velez was in, so I do apologise. And then they leave, and Kevin and Marcus are left to clean up the mess. Then we have a scene where Marcus is at home being yelled at by his wife Gina, played by Fawn Chambers Watkins. Fuck. Every episode I always press page down by mistake, and I'll go, oh, press page down. Yeah, it's because it's right next to the fucking key to scroll. So I do apologise. Basically, she's just yelling at him. It's typical, like, husband and wife drama.
Mm.
And he just falls asleep while she's yelling at him. So at a briefing, this is basically our exposition dump. The chief is talking about a possible kidnapping of two girls who are the heiresses of a cruise line. I think they may have mentioned that in the film, but I don't recall hearing it, but that was in the plot synopsis, so...
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. Kevin and Marcus volunteered to babysit them in order to get in the chief's good books, because basically they're basically going to get demoted and possibly lose their jobs because of the shit show of the ice cream situation. So
Don't forget about that.
yeah, they do have a dog. The dog isn't really important to the plot. So we get a scene of them at the airport where we meet the two sisters, who are Tiffany and Brittany. I will say I accidentally got the names of some of these guys mixed up because one of the characters later on have the same last name as them. So it was a bit difficult, but I've corrected it. Tiffany is Anne Dudek, and I press page down again. And Brittany is Maitland Ward. Basically, they just get off the plane and they don't treat them as like bodyguards. They treat them more as like like their chauffeurs, if you wish. I will just say I do apologise. Amelia is recovering from a bit of sickness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's selfish like that. So in the car, Kevin rolls the window down as the sisters talk generic white woman gossip. It's literally just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Did you say like Stacy? Like, oh my god. It's that sort of like, oh, I want to punch you all. But that is something they like to use to do the impression of them. The dog jumps out the window and is caught by Kevin with the lead. There is some dodgy CGI of him being green screen against like the windscreen, the dog. Like, it doesn't look great, but this is 2004?
You can definitely tell that in that scene with the car as they're about to crash, you could definitely see, was with the dog hanging out the window, you could see that that's green screen.
Yeah, it's just... early 2000s green screening. Like, it's very typical for these kinds of films to have a bit of dodgy, like, green screening. They end up crashing. It's a very, like, minor crash. It's not like the car flips and the fucking thing explodes. The sister panic. That both of them sort of panic as one of them has like a cut on their lip and the other one has it on their nose. They're very like pampered bitches. At the hotel they freak out because of course they do. As I say, they're very pampered. They're not used to like tiny little cuts. Kevin comes up with a plan for them to be put in whiteface and become disguised as them. Yeah, mm, this hasn't aged well when it comes to this, but you'll find that with the Wayans films, that there's a lot of outdated and
Mm.
not very okay things. Like Scary Movie 1 is filled with quite a few like hateful stereotypes and like representation of different like disabilities and mental disorders. Mental disorders, that's not a good way of putting it. I don't know. Forgive me for my poor choice of words if that's not a good way of putting it. Um, so of course this is the like montage scene where they're getting put into their like masks and whatever you want to say that they've got on, like their wigs, their fake tits. But they then arrive at the hotel. Forgive me again, I forgot what the hotel is called. I just got at the destination because I completely missed some sort of hotel for like a fashion show, I think. Jacob Vincent are ordered to protect them um, by the chief. Kevin and Marcus are then catcalled by a group of guys that are walking out the hotel, and they briefly break character into their usual selves because they forgot that they're dressed up as white women. It's very strange, but understandable. Da, 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 da. Oh, this is it. This is where we start getting the iconic lines because they bump into Jake indoors. Kevin has a bit of a breakdown when he's asked up for ID and a card. He basically just quotes something that the girl said earlier. Chief arrives before things can escalate and talks them down. Um, this is the go on. I know you want to say the iconic line.
What a beautiful chocolate man.
Yeah, he basically says, "Do you look? Has anyone told you you look like Denzel Washington?" Which is complete bullshit. But yeah, what a beautiful chocolate man.
Mm.
Da, 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 da. Eventually, they bump into the sisters' actual real friends. Karen, Lisa, and Tori. Karen is Busy Phillips. Lisa is Jennifer Carpenter, and Jessica Caulfield is Tori. Girls realise something is different, but narrow it down to being collagen rather than two black guys in disguise. Yeah, they basically just cover up the fact that they're in disguise by saying they've just had a bunch of like surgery done. I won't lie, the everyone's seen like the cover for the film. It's even in the thumbnail for this. But yeah, the disguises they have on aren't great. They're very
Mm.
horrible. A bit nightmare fuel. And they're basically dragged into the reception where they meet Heather and Megan Vandergeld, I think that's their last names, respectively played by Jamie King and Brittany Daniel, who are sworn enemies with a press page down, who are sworn enemies. I do apologise. We will probably end up having fucking t-shirts of just the button of page down on it. But oh, I've lost it now. So yeah, they meet them who are sworn enemies with the real sisters, and they end up having a game of Yo Mama match. Well, it's a Yo Mama match. It's just insulting each other's mothers, which is like it's very 2000s jokes because of course. But they are then interrupted by Heather and Megan's dad, whose name is Warren, played by the late great John Hurd, most famously for playing Kevin's dad in Home Alone. as I say, late great, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, I did not know that until you told me that.
Yeah.
I've seen Home Alone. It's not my favourite film. I wouldn't watch it again. But yeah, sorry.
Really? Oh, you
Yeah,
if
I
if
just
anyone fucking
mum.
hears that, they're gonna rinse you in the
Well,
comments.
mum, because obviously we all know that if you on my channel video, I lost my mum. May she rest in peace. And she used to, because obviously she was very sick towards the end. We used to watch a lot of films, and
See, there he is.
she collected films, and one of them was she had all of the Home Alones, and every Christmas she
She
would
had all
watch
of them.
them. Yeah, she
What,
had all of
including the
them.
like 3, 4, and 5 or
Yeah, all
whatever.
of them,
Oh
including
god.
Beethoven. You know the really old-fashioned like romance films like Next Door and Creep. There was basically a lot. We had a downstairs cupboard full of films
I'm
and
gonna
movies.
assume it's the 2005 one because I doubt it was the 2021 one. Well, no, it could have been. Was it this one? Oh no, that's not even in English. Sorry, we're just on a side tangent. Okay,
No,
no.
Next Door was years old.
Okay, well, either way, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I think it was Moving Door. Sorry.
That makes sense of why I'm just getting foreign ones. Okay, I think you may be wrong even with that. I can't spell.
No,
Sliding doors.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was a really weird film that she used to watch all the time. I've seen stuff like this loads of times, but it's Home Alone. Why the fuck would you leave your kid alone? I know it's a film, but
That
it's
is that
just,
is racism when it comes. We may even cover that for Christmas.
that's just a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, sorry, mother, that I butchered your films.
Anyway, yeah.
Exactly have a
That's a little peek ahead for you. During December this year, we're probably going to be reviewing Christmas films.
Oh,
Not, well, I
God.
mean, we'll have a good mix of maybe some. See if we can find another Santa's Sleigh
If you
esque
do
film.
Jack the Snowman, I would just leave.
What, Jack Frost?
Yeah, that's
That
it.
is terrible.
She had all of them.
Either way, we've got some. There's some good ones I'll have a think about when it comes to like Christmas, because obviously it's only fucking April now, so there's plenty of Christmassy films we can do. I'll see if I can find some Christmas horror to make things interesting, like Krampus. That could be a good one.
She had that on the.
Anyway, let's get back to the film on hand. Kevin goes and introduces himself to Denise Porter, played by Rochelle Aytes.
Do you know what made me laugh?
Aytes.
He clearly fancies her, but then he goes up to her in his costume
And uses
and
his
is
real
like
voice.
flirting with her, and it's like she didn't even twig.
No. Yeah, Rochelle Aytes, apologies if I butchered the name. Famous for the voice of Rochelle from Left 4 Dead 2, which is a nice little fun fact. You can also watch our playthrough of that on the channel. I've got to. I mean, come on. Marcus, who is lactose intolerant,
That is my favourite bit where it's those cheese things.
Yeah, he has
He
some bits of
eats them
quiche.
all. One left, and then the other girl is like, I think it was. She's like, "You're not seriously eating all of those because they have, what is it, cheese?"
It's
in
loads
them?"
of dairy. It's
And then
a
he's
quiche.
like, "Real cheese?" And then he runs off to the toilet. Anybody with IBS or bowel problems, you would know that the way that he shits in that scene
Yeah, I felt that.
is that cute.
Yeah, he rushes to the toilet and he like explodes from the inside. Essentially, it's grim, and you can see his legs under the stall like contorting. It's brutal. And then next scene, we get to meet the one and only Latrell, of course, played by the man, the myth, the legend, Terry Crews, who was just Terry Crews is like the best part of this film. And don't get me wrong, I love everyone who's in it, but Terry Crews really hams it up.
I think
And
I
I
like
love him.
him even more 'cause in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, of course,
Stuff
Terry
like that,
Crews
and
is of course in Brooklyn as Terry Jeffords. He voiced someone else. It was in one of the Saints Row games. I remember that, but it wasn't in. He arrives at the party and begins to really aggressively flirt with Kevin, who of course are still in disguise. He ultimately pepper sprays him, which it just makes him even more like horny for him. You'll realise Terry Crews in this film is a very horny man. Warren gives a speech announcing a charity auction that night. I don't know why I put that. That didn't really. Oh no, it does come back a bit later. The ladies, as well as the. I will say, the ladies is basically what I call Lisa, Karen, and Corey because I can't be asked to keep typing their name out, so I just kept putting the ladies. So the ladies, as well as the two guys, go shopping, and as they drive down to town, they sing a song that we all know. What song would that be? Making my way downtown, walking fast, paces fast, and I'm homebound. Making my way through the crowd. Yeah, you get it. So
Are we gonna
anyway,
get copyrighted for that?
not for singing.
If I could fall into
We're not
the
padding this
sky.
episode out by singing the entirety of 1,000 miles. They changed the radio to rap and they all sing along. Only after Kevin or Marcus is like, no one's around, we could say the N word. And they all start singing along to it, including saying that word. So they all arrive at this shop, and as Marcus is trying on some women's clothes, because of course, Gina calls as an assistant helps him to get his head through the top, and Gina gets the wrong impression. Basically, because he's a fucking bloke, he's trying to fit into this tiny little top, and there's lots of just inappropriate sounding sentences that aren't inappropriate. So Gina thinks that he's cheating on
That
her.
understandably take.
Yeah, honestly, I could see why. And she hangs up on him, and he obviously is like, that's not good. So Kevin is helping Lisa to pick some clothes, and she's basically having a breakdown at what she's wearing. It's really good. It's a really silly scene, played really well by Jennifer Carpenter, just having a breakdown at trying to get some clothes on. Marcus emerges in a new outfit that is many sizes too small because he's really like scrunched into it. He's really squeezed into it, and it basically just caves and it just explodes under his weight. Vincent and Jake are in a car nearby and watches as Kevin has his bag snatched by a robber. This is a fucking great scene of him just sprinting down the fucking road after this fucking dude. He just chases him and like tackles him to the fucking ground. And because the robber looks up at him and he's like, "All that for a bag?" And he goes, "It's Prada." Back at the party, Karen tries to flirt with Heath, which is basically her love interest to the film. It's good to have like side characters that actually have some relevancy to the plot, rather than it just being like funny woman. Nothing really happens with them that doesn't involve the main cast. Heath is played by John Reardon. But after she had asked Marcus to powder her nose, she looks like she's done cocaine. It's just all over her face. Don't know how you wouldn't feel like powder just there. I don't know. I'm not a woman. I don't understand, but
Well, no, if someone just gets a massive pad and they're just like, because it was
he basically just slaps her in the face with
basically a
it.
massive pad of powder, and they just literally bung it on your nose. You know that any powder you put on your face, you need to like blend it in.
Ugh.
So I kind of felt that was a bit.
Yeah. Look at you, the makeup expert. Anyway.
Well, I do makeup on Petal A.
Oh, there you go. There's the plug. Even though that's not the account that's in the description.
Petal ASMR if you want me to do your makeup on the screen.
It's probably linked on her other account that's
The
in the
Obsidian
description.
Nook.
Yeah, okay, we'll get there. Usually we'd save the plug until the end of the episode, but I guess tonight we're not. Yeah, this is going up the same day because I want to push this out because usually it would go out on a Sunday, but because it's Sunday now, I just thought instead of saving it for tomorrow, I want to get it out because it's such a silly film. So I think I've accidentally scrolled all the way down through the other page. Yep. So the men all bid to go on dates with Heather. However, Heath because of course he has to, because Heath and Heather, which I realise Heath is just Heather without the ER on the end. Now that I'm looking at it, so Sure. He has to bid on her because he is a prick in this film, made to be a prick. Marcus is next up on stage to be bid on, and with Kevin assisting to raise the bids in order to outbid a certain Terry Crews. Uh, well, Latrell, of course. Until Latrell bids like 50 grand, I think he bids, and wins. That night, oh fucking hell! That night, it's because the fuck, it's because there's a fucking touchpad that's also scrolling. At that night, Marcus and Kevin are visited by their friends, the ladies. Must scramble into their disguises because they have apparently forgotten they were hosting a slumber party. Marcus is listening to Karen vent and realizes that he's been treating his wife like shit. He also gives her cornrows, which was interesting. And I think she says to him like, "Oh, you must have been a black guy in another life," and it's like, get it. Anyway, my apologies. Yeah, he just realizes that he's been treating his wife like shit, and it's usual like drama. In the FBI's mini HQ, they spot two men outside Kevin and Marcus's room. Kevin just absolutely demolishes these poor dudes when they come into the room because they part of the well, it turns out they're strippers, but part of the act is to try and kidnap them. Like, okay. I've never had a stripper, but I didn't think that would be part of it.
I don't know. I mean, well, I should hope you
Especially a male.
neither of us.
Anyway, Kevin very quickly gets out of disguise on the. Oh no, hang on, sorry. At the beach, Marcus almost blows his cover when Heath's friend Russ, played by Stephen Graham, throws a football. I hate having to put a football because it's America and they call it a football, but it's basically a rugby ball for all the people that call it by its real name. And Kevin throws it. Kevin just lobs it at him and knocks him over. Latrell's also at the beach because, of course, he is. He's everywhere. He just like Jesus. He's in like a speedo and he stands over Marcus. It's interesting. Marcus is approached by him, but he tells him to basically fuck off. Kevin gets out of his disguise in order to flirt with Denise, who is also at the beach, because all of the characters have to be in the same place at one time.
That's convenient.
It's a Wayans film. It's got to be like that. He basically pretends to be Latrell, who's of course I think like Terry Crews in real life. He's like a player, an American football player, whatever you want to call him. He's like Terry Crews used to be an NFL quarterback, I think, before he started acting. So I think they just used his real life like story as the character's like basis. I've done it again. Okay, no, I've accidentally scrolled up. Yeah, he lands a date with her somehow after pretending to be minted and being Latrell. Gina, who is out for lunch with her friend, has her car declined due to Marx's earlier shopping spree. Forgive me, I couldn't find a name for the friend, let alone an actress, so I apologize. Marcus ends up going out with Latrell that night, which, good God, this is a scene. And Marcus turns on the radio in the car. Oh boy, we're not going to sing it again, but of course, 1,000 Miles is on them at that time. And the iconic scene of Terry Crews singing along to it is fucking. That's great. He really goes into it. Like Terry Crews gives us all of his little singing performance, bless him. When they arrive, Marcus bumps into Kevin, who takes Latrell's car for his date with Denise. Because he basically disguises himself as a. Fuck are they called?
Oh, like is it a chalet? A chalet?
Something like that.
When they park your car.
A valet.
Yeah, that's.
Valet, yeah. So yeah, that basically gets the keys to his car so he can go to be with Denise in Thingy's house. Da, 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 da. As Latrell compliments Marcus, Marcus does everything he can to put him off, like putting his foot up, he's burping, he's ordering all the food off the menu. It's disgusting, but somehow it doesn't work. Kevin and Denise end up at Latrell's house and are disturbed by the maid, who he proceeds to throw out. Kevin starts to pretend it's his home, but there is a large image of Latrell, like with this like tiger print blanket over him.
That's my trainer.
It's like, that's my personal trainer. That's great. Kevin starts to pretend this. Yeah. At the restaurant, Marcus is gorging on food. He is literally like just pouring it into his fucking mouth. It's nasty. Kevin is then disturbed by Latrell's dog. He proceeds to attack him as Kevin tries to play it off as them playing. Ultimately locking him behind a door, which it proceeds to break. It like cracks the bottom of it. Kevin starts to. I'm reading the same thing. Sorry. In the restaurant, Marcus's attempts to put Latrell off fail, but he ends up insulting him, but makes Latrell fall in love with him even more. Basically, just takes the piss out of his like career as a football player, but ultimately, Latrell's like, I've never had anyone care for me that much. And then they basically start farting with each other. It's fart jokes equals funny. It's like an Adam Sandler film.
Mm.
God, we are doing an Adam Sandler film soon.
Oh,
We've got to do one of his.
You're really gonna.
Motherfucker, you said you liked some of his film.
Well, I used to.
Some of his old ones are good, but the new Click is okay. But it's I've seen it so many times. We'll find the lowest rated Adam Sandler film on like a list of his movies because most of them are shit. So it's probably at least 5 that are all rated like 2 out of 10. We will find it and we will cover it. I promise you that. Look forward to it. Da, 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 da. Denise and Kevin begin making love. I mean, it's very PG love making. It's like Kevin's got his top off and he's just like kissing her. But they're disturbed by Marcus, who is very much done with Latrell's bullshit. Jake and Vincent are trying to find out what isn't right about Kevin and Marcus. Of course, they're still in disguise, not just what's wrong with the character of Kevin and Marcus. They're basically trying to decide what's wrong with the sisters, in quotes. Jake ends up sniffing some underwear on the floor. He is a bit of a creep, like, don't get me wrong. Vincent ends up finding, like, the fake skin masks they use to disguise themselves. At nightclub, Latrell is talking to Heath and Russ, but... Well, he talks to Russ, I think, and Russ says basically, like, oh, if you want to get some action, drug the drink. Which, is not a good thing to say in this day and age.
No, definitely. But with him being an FBI agent, he obviously spots it.
Well, also it fizzes. Even though I know that I used to. Well, I've never seen a drug to drink, but I've worked in the front of house industry, and you know that like something like that doesn't fizz, because there's no like. Well, as I'm sure you're aware. I think it was an apple martini, so
Yeah.
that doesn't have like soda. Well, it shouldn't fizz, basically. Anyway, you're getting all the facts today in this, guys. Latrell ends up drugging Marcus's drink, but Marcus distracts him by saying Britney Spears is over there.
And they're playing a Britney song as well.
What were they?
Yeah, because it was like... Oh, I'm sure it was Britney Spears. I don't know. I have got it.
What was the song? I don't think it was. I don't think it was.
It sounded like her though.
I'm just gonna get the Wikipedia because they list the full thing song list. Yeah, that is a Britney Spears song. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
I got that boom boom.
Yeah, it's because I was like, that's a bit ironic to say, oh look, there's Britney Spears, and then it's playing.
I suppose that was for those who knew, was to be like, oh yeah, remember, like, oh, that song that came out probably not long before it came out. Yeah, so he switches the drinks around and ends up drugging Latrell. Da, 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 da. Girls get up to dance and leave the trail behind. Marcus and Kevin discuss some information that Denise gave Kevin earlier about how she lost her job after a guy went to prison and came out with millions to live the high life. He basically put money into his offshore account so that when he came out of prison, he was fucking. Which is a little. In the business, we call this foreshadowing. Um, Meanwhile, the girls have a dance off against Megan and Heather, but they lose until Kevin and Marcus intervene and end up winning. It's one of them scenes where it's clearly not them dancing because it's really like skillful. I mean, I'd be impressed if it was, but no. So Latrellis offers tits back at the booth and suddenly feels the urge to dance. While being sick, Karen reveals that Heather, Megan, and Warren are all broke. Sorry, I've just scrolled down to see how long was left. I do apologise. Latrell's off his tits. Yep. The following morning, Latrell wakes up in bed with Russ. The real Brittany and Tiffany are reading about the exploits of Kevin and Marcus and conclude that they've been cloned. That's a bit of an interesting thing, but they're meant to be dumb blondes. That's the whole point. Gina and her friend then arrive at the hotel room to confront Marcus. Kevin is just trying to hide from her because he's still in the makeup, but Marcus isn't. But as he goes out the door, Gina's friend catches him. Yeah, they're basically giving shit. They're just yelled at. They basically have a disagreement. Tiffany and Brittany, the real Tiffany and Brittany, are caught by Jake and Vic and taken to the chief. They attempt to expose them as Kevin and Marcus, but fail because, of course, they're the real ones. Basically, basically undressing them to try and prove that they're men, which, again, would not fly. But one of the sisters does just like deck Jake. The chief then confronts and fires Marcus and Kevin because obviously they've just faked it. Kevin decides he's done with Marcus's shit. No, Marcus decides that he's done with Kevin's shit because Kevin's like, we can do this. But Marcus is like, no, my wife is right. Warren, of course, is the villain. It's very sudden, the sort of sudden reveal of him being the villain. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's a rich dude in the film, and you can't have John Hurd without like using him for more than 5 minutes. So yeah, it's the big villain. They're literally sat around. He's sat by a campfire, smoking a cigar. It's as evil as evil villains get. Essentially, he might as well have a moustache. Well, but we do have the reveal that Heath is working for him, basically to try and kidnap the real sisters. Working with Russ, yeah, to kidnap them. While driving back home to, I don't know how far they drove. It's not really specified, and I don't know the logistics of this sort of thing. But Kevin and Marcus receive a call from, I don't even know. I think like a lab tech discovers that it has Warren's fingerprints all over this letter.
Mm.
So they're like, oh yeah, we better go back then. They call Vincent and Jake, who also join, who obviously have lost their jobs after basically sexually assaulting two women. And they just basically join the investigation to get their jobs back. At the fashion show, their friends arrive and tell them that they're now part of the show. I won't lie, this last sort of third act is a bit rushed. As I say, there's this letter that comes out of nowhere with some prints on it, and then they're just like, oh, we better go back. It's a bit rushed. That's like one of my main critiques. Heather and Megan have lost their places in the show in order for Kevin and Marcus to be put in their places. For whatever reason, they don't really specify. Heath decides to try and take Karen away by saying, like, let's have a date at 3 a.m. or something. But she stands up for herself, basically saying that he was using her for a booty call and he basically insults her. But Marcus does stop him and fucking punches him square in the face, knocking him over, essentially. Gina and her friend then, like, break into the show. The Gina part of this is a bit weird. I don't see why they really involved her as much as they did.
As backup.
Yeah, I suppose, but eh. Both versions of the sisters strut their stuff on the runway because eventually they get on there. The real ones arrive and get on stage as well. Of course, it goes wrong when Kevin and Marcus are sabotaged by Heather and Megan, basically causing them to throw models all around the stage because they knock them over. Uh, the ladies, whatever you want to call them, end up knocking them off of their little perch and causes red paint to spill onto them. Basically, it just goes to carry the famous scene of, well, that's pig's blood in that, but this is just red paint. Evan and Megan are embarrassed and retreat off stage. It's their big, like, yay, we beat the bad guy. But both versions of the sister are left off on stage and they're caught up inside a Chinese dragon costume. It's like a big puppet you'd see at a parade. It's a bit random, but it manages to pick up one of both sets of sisters. Eventually, a fight breaks out between everyone. Kevin, Marcus, Heath, and Russ, with obviously Kevin and Marcus coming out on top. And Warren takes this real sisters hostage while they're fighting. Heath is arrested. Russ sort of disappears. Everyone catches up to Warren as a big like Scooby Doo moment. Basically, everyone's like, "You're bad," and they watch him have a breakdown. Essentially, it's very out of nowhere. Latrell jumps in front of a gunshot to save Marcus, and Kevin shoots Warren non-lethally. No one dies in this film, surprisingly. Marcus reveals himself as a black guy to Latrell because Latrell is still in love, and he's just like, "Dude, I work for the FBI." But he's only upset about the fact he's black, not that he's a man. It's very weird. You better not be disturbing our third host of the show.
Readjust.
Chief arrives and gives them their job back after basically just telling them how much of a fucking mess they made and how much of a shit show they caused. Kevin speaks with Denise afterwards and attempts to make up with. Of course, it's the end of the film. Marcus admits to being a bad husband and makes up with Gina. Latrell ends up leaving the show with both sisters with him. And Kevin and Marcus end the movie by going shopping with the girls and there you go. That's White Chicks for you. So, of course, as we said at the top of this, very iconic, very silly, just very dumb humour. It's as I say, it's a Wayans film, so you know what you're getting into. Seeing scary movies. Don't be a menace. Everything was fine. All the acting was fine. Nothing really stood out. But we'll give our ratings because it's about to be a shock. We'll let Amelia do hers first.
Oh, we'll do the negative first and then the positive.
What do you mean the negatives? Alright, well, I'll probably change it to a 7.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I had it down as an 8, but once I was like, oh yeah, the third act is pretty rushed and out of nowhere. And then, of course...
a 10.
Amelia gives it a perfect 10. I mean, as we say, it's iconic and everything, but...
Oh, Silver would like to give a rating.
Silver, what would you rate it?
Because he's, like, watched it when I was a teenager.
Yeah, Silver's seen it just as much as Amelia has, so...
What are you going to give it?
Well, he can't count, and he can't read, and he can't hear, so...
Shall we say a 10?
I assume he liked it. I think he even watched it with us when we were doing it for the review. So we'll say a 10. So that's 28 out of 30. 27.5 even. So yeah, thank you for listening to our little thoughts and whatever the hell you want to call it. Basically us just bullying a film, but no. A little review, our discussion, all that good stuff. Of course, I've been your gracious host, Mitchell, joined once again by Amelia. Do you want to get your plugs in?
Oh, my channels?
Yeah. Even though you're in every episode. So
Petal ASMR with the Obsidian Nook.
So yeah, the Obsidian Nook, Petal ASMR.
And then you've got Silver the Kitty 18 for his Instagram.
Yeah, Silver has an Instagram. I think our Instagram follows them, so if you want to find him, you can find him through that.
Silver.
Of course, this has been the Nova Project. This has been another review. We'll be back next week. It's my turn. So yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.
Making my way down.